morning, everybody. More breaking news. We have the deets on the lawsuit. So I was searching around, and as you know, last night I was asking the question, did anybody hear? Well, I found a channel. Her name is ThatGirl. I'm going to post a link to her video in my community post, as well as post her link to sub her up below. And here I'm going to attach a sound clip from her video that she did last night and reading the actual lawsuit legal documents. She has a nice voice to listen to and does a really good job and very impartial. Just posing the question, is this free speech, what was done, or was there full-blown, defamation that took place? So I hope you enjoy, and please go over and give that girl a follow for her hard work here. Have a great day, everybody.
I just would like to share the truth of what I found in my journey for facts. So what we have here is, and I'm probably going to say the name, guys. I'm going to say it wrong, but it's Andreacchio versus AKA the Critical K. Come now, the petitioner, Andreacchio, who files this complaint by and through the undersigned counsel as follows. Preliminary statement. Plaintiff, Andreacchio, hereinafter plaintiff or Miss Andreacchio, is the mother of Christian, deceased, who died under suspicious circumstances on February the 26th, 2014 in Mississippi. Plaintiff has devoted the last 7 years trying to bring her son's killer to justice. 2. Defendant K, hereinafter defendant or Miss Critical, is prominent social media figure known to her followers as the Critical K. Defendant operates an internet webcast with over 17,000 subscribers in which she discusses numerous real crime stories from across the United States. One such story involves oh goodness, guys. One such story involves the suspicious death of the plaintiff's son. Defendant believes that he committed suicide. Her webcasts expound upon her theories of the case. The defendant has done more than simply express her opinions about what happened to Christian. On one occasion, the defendant accused plaintiff of committing bribery, getting people drunk, and getting young people drunk. On another occasion, the defendant gave the impression to her audience that plaintiff, who is a mental health service provider, may have been responsible for the death of her son and another young man. Both sets of comments have defamed or painted the plaintiff in a false light, thereby causing her to suffer injury to her reputation and or emotional damage. Ergo, she brings this suit against the defendant. 2. Parties. 4. Plaintiff is an adult resident citizen of Mississippi, and she may be served with process in this matter by and through the undersigned. Give me one moment. Attorney, whose current address is, and of course I redacted all this because people don't know how to act. The defendant is an adult resident citizen of the state of Michigan who may be served with process at, and then we're on to subject matter jurisdiction. 6. This court has subject matter jurisdiction under federal law pursuant to blank because complete diversity exists between the parties and because the amount in controversy is greater than $75,000, exclusive of interest and costs. 7. The court has subject matter jurisdiction over this action and under state law. Defendant is not a newspaper, a television station, or a radio station, nor is she a news reporting organization. Moreover, defendant is being sued for comments that she made during her online editorials, wherein she mixes false and or misleading statements with her opinions. Thus, no pre-suit notice is required. Personal jurisdiction. The plaintiff is subject to the general personal jurisdiction of this court since she is a citizen of Mississippi. Defendant is subject to the specific personal jurisdiction of this court since her contacts with the state of Mississippi occurred when she committed the torturous acts complained of herein. 9. A non-resident defendant shall be subject to personal jurisdiction in a federal diversity suit to an extent permitted by the law of the forum state and the considerations of the constitutional due process. And then, of course, it quotes, the law of Mississippi permit this suit to be heard here, and the defendant has a requisite minimum contact with this state. 10. Since injury is necessarily required to complete a tort is considered to have been committed in part in Mississippi, where the jury results in this state. And of course, it's going to quote a few things. You guys, this was filed on the 4th. The plaintiff suffered injury in this state. Therefore, pursuant to the Mississippi long arm statute, the defendant is subject to the court's jurisdiction since she committed a tort in whole or in part in this state against a resident of this state. Thus, the laws of Mississippi permit this suit. During her live webcast, the defendant interviewed Mississippi residents over the telephone about Christian. She has also conducted in-depth discussions about the official investigation that was prepared by Mississippi law enforcement personnel. She has also directed messages to the plaintiff personally on her live webcast, such as this one from on or about April the 23rd, 2021. And of course, it's going to quote what Miss Critical said. You're not ignoring me, plaintiff. You are very well aware of me, and you know that I have taken up for Dylan and Whitley, and I am a force to be reckoned with. I am a Powerball. You never met a motherfucker like me, plaintiff. Thus, Mississippi is the focal point of the defendant's discussions. Mississippi is where, let me see where I was. Sorry, guys. Is where the defendant directed her comments, such as the one above. The defendant has had the requisite minimum contacts with the state of Mississippi to comply with the demands for constitutional due process. 12. Therefore, this court has jurisdiction over the parties because each party has purposely availed itself of the jurisdiction of the state of Mississippi and traditional notions of fair play would not be violated by this suit. So the note says Dylan and Whitley, non-parties to this action, were the last people to see Christian alive and were with him when he died. Very sad. You guys, I don't want to talk about this case. Due to my own personal experiences, it's just not one I care to talk about. But I do care to discuss whether or not you find this to be frivolous and whether or not you find that Miss Critical was only using her freedom of fair speech. I cannot see the chat. Please keep it respectful. Venue. The defendant directed her comments to the judicial district where plaintiff lives, and the plaintiff suffered injury to her reputation and or emotional damage in this judicial district. Thus, a substantial part of the events or omissions giving rise to the claims alleged herein occurred in this judicial district. Therefore, venue is appropriate in this court pursuant to, and then of course it tells where and why. So this is some relevant facts. This is what is supposed to be more of the things that were out of line. On or about March 21st of 2021, defendant interviewed Dylan about the events leading up to the death of Christian. During that webcast, defendant made the following statements about the plaintiff. First thing I want to say is if blank, the plaintiff, wants to try this case on social media as she has attempted to do since 2017, I am happy to oblige her, right? I am happy to oblige her, and until now, she has really dominated the narrative about this case via intimidation, bullying, and outright lies. And I sort of set the groundwork for that the other night. And I'm going to continue to lay that groundwork and continue to provide proof of the things that I claim that she has attempted to control the narrative via intimidation, bullying, lies, bribery, getting people drunk, getting young people drunk, etc., etc. And that is a very troubling to me. But she has truly dominated the narrative, her and her family, her brother and her children. And it's time for the other side to have their say. It's time for the other side to have someone who takes up the mantle for them. 2. Dylan lives in Mississippi. Upon information and belief, Dylan made this call from Mississippi. So that's just another point they're saying actually gives Mississippi jurisdiction. 15. Defendant's outrageous allegations about plaintiff in the above statement are false and defamatory. Specifically, but without limitation, plaintiff has not committed bribery, nor has she gotten people drunk, let alone young people. Plaintiff also denies intimidating and bullying people. 16. On or about April the 11th, 2021, defendant interviewed Dylan again along with Matt. These are blank parts. Okay, so these are basically their parts of what went on. So the defendant, and I'm sorry this is so heavily redacted, guys, but I'm not getting into the BS part of this. Wasn't blank also treated by the plaintiff? Matt, I don't know that. I don't know that. Defendant, Dylan, was blank treated by the plaintiff? Dylan, we know you were. Dylan, I was told through someone else that sometime that may have happened. I'm not 100% sure, so I can't vouch for it, but I am sure that there is somebody in my group that, if this is true, can vouch for it. Dylan. Oh, sorry, Matt. Yep. Defendant. It seems to me that is something that I have heard. It seems to me that is something that I've heard, that Hayes was also treated by plaintiff, and that is what I need people to understand. There's a host of young people here, specifically teenagers and young adults, who have been treated by the plaintiff in this community via her workplace. They have been treated both counseling wise and medically by the plaintiff. And some of these people who have been treated by her counseling wise and medically have gone on to be accused by her of being involved in this. This is how far her reach goes.